Church. Pastor Steve here with our Monday Minute for December the 6th of 2021. We've got a lot going on in the life of our church as we are now midway through the Advent season. We just want to take a moment to highlight a couple of those for you before today's devotion. First, Reverend Gassaway's class is meeting both in person and online for his Advent study. Those take place, the second one tonight at 6:30 p.m. Anybody is welcome to attend. Also, Dr. Dunbar's Lectio Divina class is continuing on Tuesdays at 1 p.m. That is also a hybrid format. Our Women Connecting Through Christ, two groups meeting on Thursdays. That will continue through the end of this month. On December the 23rd, they are going to be having an open house that they're inviting all women to come to. You can get that information on our webpage. Our winter apparel drive for our kids is continuing. That goes all the way through January 12th. But if you're dropping off your items, you can feel free to do that. Our kids' Christmas presents are due this coming Sunday. So if you've not had a chance to drop those off at the church, we need to have those by Sunday so they can be distributed before Christmas in these coming weeks. Also, there is still limited space available, I'm told actually very limited space available, for the winter retreat, which is coming up in January. You can again contact Dr. Dunbar for more information on that. Information about all of these events can be found on our webpage at newburghumc.org/events. Today, as we continue our Advent focus on Scott Erickson's book, Honest Advent, little did I know, or any of us know for that matter, that when I did this Monday Minute last Monday, how our circumstances would change with the shooting at Oxford High School. We still are mourning. We're still looking for answers. But as I said last week, and as I said yesterday in worship, we must also be looking to solutions. As Christians, that is our duty in keeping our kids safe. And I encourage us to continue that conversation and to find and look for actionable solutions. But a few weeks ago, I was listening to a video podcast with Andy Stanley. He was being interviewed by Tony Morgan of the Unstuck Group. If you don't know who Andy Stanley is, he is a Christian author and he is the founding pastor of North Point Church in Atlanta. And his own podcast has many followers worldwide. He was talking with Tony Morgan about leading through a pandemic. And he was naming for us that many of us pastors have been feeling that we have never seen anything like this in the church. Not just in terms of the pandemic itself, but how people have responded to it. All of that is true. And he spoke about his people who decided to leave his church because of their protocols and their perceived politics. Now, Stanley, arguing against anybody leaving their church over a political reason, made a point that Jesus was apolitical. And in fact, Stanley stated that Jesus never got political and only spoke to matters of the heart, because that's what he was most concerned with. But when he said that, that struck me. And it struck me for two reasons. Because the one reason, and in one sense, he's absolutely right. Jesus is apolitical when it comes to our American two-party system in our context, or any political system that the world would create. I do believe that. And yes, he is right that Jesus was concerned with matters of the heart. Yet I also believe that Stanley was wrong. Jesus is apolitical, but his very presence itself, and in speaking to matters of the heart, is a political statement, especially when we define the word as the guiding principles of our lives rather than a particular party that we affiliate with. As my old seminary ethics professor would say, Dr. Stanley Hauerwas, we are political. Jesus is our politics. And I think that's where we can have the disconnect. That's why we're undertaking this study of Scott Erickson's book, Honest Advent, because it's a way where we can recover and help us to understand more the fact that God decided to get real and enter into our lives and enter into our struggles that we encounter every day. After all, isn't that what politics is all about? Jesus came to challenge the systems that neglect the poor and the weak and the outcast. He came to bring healing and hope to a world that was focused primarily on simply following rules and laws. He came in to usher a new kingdom of peace, but he refused to allow that peace to be achieved through violent ends. That is political, but it's a politics that belongs to Jesus. And it doesn't get more real or more honest than this. Now, many of you have been enjoying this book so far and the devotionals that we have for each and every day and the perspective that Erickson brings, because it is different. But while some have commented that they have enjoyed it, others have found it challenging. And that is the number one comment I've gotten back, is that this book is different. And my answer is, well, yes. Yes, it is. Well, I love the pomp and circumstance of Advent and Christmas season myself. I just got my house decorated. You can see one of my trees back over here. The outdoor lights are on. I really do love all of that stuff. But sometimes it allows us to romanticize and sanitize the things that we can want to ignore. But the reality that Jesus entered into was there in the first place. See, we can forget that Jesus decided to locate in our reality and in the here and in the now. In chapter 7, Erickson addresses this when he talks about God's sovereignty and God's will. It's entitled Alpha, if you've not gotten to that devotional chapter yet. He says, if we're honest, isn't that the real question during Advent season? Not what was the overarching theological plan of Christmas, but who cares? Conversations about God's sovereignty always feel removed from the minutiae of our lives. End quote. See, we can get caught up in the cosmic interpretation and forget that God came to us in Jesus in a very real way. Jesus came to live in the minutiae and to struggle through it and walk us through those struggles himself. As Erickson goes on and says, it's exactly in these details that God's all-powerfulness is to be found. Now, that is not to say that God is some sort of cosmic puppet master, but it is to say that Advent and Christmas says that God cares about the details and the struggles of our lives and is willing to be a part of them, is willing to experience them and to live through all of them. And that is the mystery and the magic of God incarnate. That God does care about it all. This week, as we continue to struggle and move forward after the events at Oxford High School, and as the world still contends with COVID and a pandemic that just won't go away, with new outbreaks and new variants, especially those that we're experiencing right now here in Michigan, we know, we can be assured that God is with us. God has been with us. God was with us, particularly in Jesus, and God is still with us. God is guiding us and giving us the tools and the company that we need to make our way through together. So might we, in this Advent season, all feel and experience that presence and show the world through what we do that God cares. And they will know that God cares because we care. Please stay safe out there, and we'll look forward to seeing you in our upcoming events for Advent and Christmas over the next couple of weeks. But we'll also look forward to seeing you back here next week for another edition of the Monday